welcome to another Facehammer update video for the new Age of Sigmar 3rd edition, or hashtag new AOS, to use the monkier that GW are using for their new game. Obviously, we did a live stream, we went through all the crawl boys, we went through all the announcements from the big Twitch stream where we talked about what was commented on as well. You can check that out on our channel. The audio is not amazing because it was live, picked up at it halfway through, should be sorted from now on. Anyway, two new articles have gone up over the last 2 days. So this series of videos, I am just literally giving you the TLDR updates, a little bit of insight, what's going on, so you can easily catch up, and it'll give you a notification if you're subscribed. So subscribe below if you want to see more of this sort of content. So new AOS, there's a new article went up yesterday actually. The best rule set ever. We've heard that claim before with the Warhammer Fest video, which was to basically say it is the best version, it's watertight, it's done really well. So this article really highlights some of the reasons why there's a lot of thought going into making the rules as comprehensive as possible. It's probably the best way I would describe it. So basically they have been numbered and key terms have been bolded. So this is quite a big change for GW. It's nice to see. So you can see a little excerpt from the core rules, obviously pretty looking border on the book. Can't wait to see what a printed book actually looks like. I'm really excited. I love a good book. So you've got the rules. So 10.0 shooting phase. It's got what it does. It's got 10.1 shooting attacks. It says, you know, please see 13.1.1 and how to make attacks. So it's referencing other rules. So although that's no real different to the current one, is you didn't have these numbered paragraphs. And what's quite nice is there's a question, kind of like designer note italic in the margin. So it says here, like, you know, a unit that's within 3 of enemy unit can only target enemy units within 3, and it says that they don't have any penalty. So they might, in your head, you might read that and go, maybe there's modifiers, and it says there's no penalty. So you kind of think, oh, it probably isn't then. Obviously we don't know because we've only seen a little snippet of the rules, but that's just an example of how they're referencing rules with numbers, which is going to be so much easier in the future when you talk to someone and you're like, oh, it's this rule, and they go, what rule's that? I think it's somewhere. You just go, well, it's 10.1.0, whatever it is, you know. So it's 10.1.2, you know, look out, sir. So, oh, right, okay, so you can go to that. It's numbered in sequence, so you can go, well, I assume it is. I mean, it's 10.1. so you go, it's section 10, section 10.1.2, so you can go, well, actually, that's what it is. So, really useful for having discussions and check things, and the margins, obviously references, really useful. There's a little video with Ben Johnson from the studio. So he talks about the edition. He talks about monsters being more heroic, monsters being more monstrous, heroes being more heroic, and the way you should build your army changed. He also confirms there's a new General's Handbook coming. There's a Conquest of Generals Battle Pack in the core rules, which is for match play, and it seems like there's a very big focus on matched play in the new edition, which is great. If you're watching this, you're probably aware that we're a mostly matched play focused channel, so for us it's very exciting. And it doesn't mean that narrative's been forgotten. He just mentioned the Path to Glory rule set, which sounds like that's had a massive overhaul, so obviously that's been mentioned in many videos, so can't wait to see that. Whether it'll be like the 40k Crusade rules, we'll have to wait and see. That's been really popular. I don't really play 40k, but even I got kind of dragged into the Crusade element, and I think if it's only really because of the pandemic, I've not been able to play games, but hopefully it's going to be something really cool to draw people in who maybe don't play the level that, you know, match play or tournaments and stuff, but they want to play and dabble. So new layout, great. That's basically what the article says. It's just look at the numbers, that it is clear that's what we're doing. So for me, that's great. There is also another article that went up today. This one has got some real meat to it. So this is about monsters and heroes. So you've got the make heroes more heroic, deal some monstrous damage, and it talks about some new mechanics in the game. So this is quite important. So it talks about monstrous rampages and heroic actions. So heroic actions are a new type of ability used in the hero phase. It says by both players. So that means that they talked about this interaction and trying to do, you're not just waiting to go, you're involved in each other's turns. So that means that you're doing heroic actions in their turn and they're doing it in your turn as well as your own. So it's quite cool. And it says as well, if you've got a big multiplayer game, then everyone will be doing it in every hero phase. That could be nuts. So new opportunities, but they've actually put the rules in here. So they're different from command abilities. So they're freebies to make your heroes more like the ones in the books. So this is the rule 7.1. Again, the nice numbering. It says a unit with the hero keyword is a hero. At the start of the hero phase, you can carry out one heroic action from the table below with one friendly hero. So the effect of a heroic action is treated in the same way as effect for ability for rules purposes. So you could take one heroic action with one friendly hero. So you get to do one of these. So you've got 4 here. So you've got heroic leadership, pick a friendly hero, roll a dice, add 2 if your general's been slain. On a 4+, you receive 1 command point that can only be spent during that turn to allow that hero to issue a command ability. So it's only the hero that does the leadership ability that can use it, which is fine because obviously that would require a little bit of planning, but normally you'd know what you want. So, but it also could be used in their turn. So if you know that you're going into their hero phase, you could gain a command point yourself to put on that defensive ability just in case, or whatever you've got. Obviously we know what command abilities can do. So then you've got heroic willpower. Pick a friendly hero is not a wizard. If it's the enemy hero phase, that wizard can unbind a spell as if they were a wizard. If it is your hero phase, that can attempt to dispel one endless spell in that phase as if they were a wizard. So you can still only attempt to unbind or dispel the same spell, endless spell, once in the same phase. So obviously timing, this is at the start. So with dispelling, that's normally at the start. So there might be some timing because this is during the phase. So I don't know whether that's changed or endless spells. There was some mention of endless spells changing in the 8 important factor video. So there might be something there. You've also got the finest hour, which is interesting. So you pick a friendly hero, add 1 to wound rolls until the end of the turn, and add 1 to save rolls for attack that target them until the end of the turn. And it says you cannot carry out this heroic action with the same hero more than once in the same battle. So it's like a once per game heroic action that each hero can do, but +1 to wound and +1 save. That's fairly powerful. So using that will be a really interesting thing. So you might say, actually, I'm going to burn it because I think he's going to send their hero into my hero and I want to be defensive, or actually I'm going to go in really aggressively and I want my combat to be impactful. So it's quite interesting. So it then says you got heroic recovery. Just pick a friendly hero, make a heroic recovery roll 2d6. If the roll is less than the hero's bravery, heal d3 wounds. If the roll is equal to, heal 1 wound. So if you've got a high bravery, being able to do extra healing, that's quite big. Extra d3 wounds might move you up a bracket if you're a monstrous hero. It might stop you being able to be one-shot from an arcane bolt. Because it's the start of the hero phase, you can do it in your opponent's hero phase. You might go into their turn with a single wound left on a hero and go, I need to heal because they're just about to hit me with a spell that does a mortal wound, and I need to be, if it's d3 mortals and I get 3 wounds back, then they can't kill me. So it could be quite interesting to use that. So I'm quite interested to see how the interaction between both players plays out. It's pretty cool. So you've also got this thing about command points. So they're saying that you start. So it says in here that you start with, we know this already. So whoever's starting the turn will get 1 and the other person will get 2. So it says here, you'll earn another point for generals on the battlefield, bringing your total to either 2 or 3 points. And obviously, like heroic action we saw above gets you a point, so that's interesting. And it just says these crucial command abilities are also more versatile. So it says here, this 6.1 says to use a command ability, spend a command point, pick a friendly model to issue it, and pick 1 friendly unit to receive it. Unless noted otherwise, the models that can issue commands and the units they issue are as follows. So unit champions can issue commands to their own unit. So that's quite interesting, because you could have a unit that's out there in the battlefield on its own, like this gone out ranging ahead or as deep strike, and they need to use a command ability. They can, because their hero's alive. And likewise, that means that any ability that can kill a champion, some of the snipey abilities that pick up a model and kill a model, that would mean that you could stop them being able to use commander, but if you take the champion out. So pretty powerful, quite an interesting change that units can now issue command abilities if they've got a champion. So some units don't have champions, so that's even more interesting. So yeah, pretty cool. It says heroes can issue commands if they're wholly within 12. Generals if they're wholly within 18, and totems if they're wholly within 18. So totems are stuff like banners. So I think the Blood Secretor is a totem, and so is, I think so is the War Shrine and things like that. I don't know if the Cauldron of Blood is, but you know, quite an interesting like way of using a keyword that we don't really see much interaction with. So that's quite cool. So it's nice that your units don't need that support. Now we've got some monster abilities. So monstrous rampages. So it says at the end of the charge phase, each player can carry out one monstrous rampage. So from the table with each friendly monster. The player whose turn carries out all their monstrous rampages. The same player cannot carry out the same monstrous rampage more than once per turn. The effect of the monstrous rampage is treated in the same way as the effective ability. So you've got monstrous rampages. You've got raw. Pick an enemy unit within 3 of this model, roll a dice. On a 3+, the unit cannot issue or receive commands in the combat phase. So that's pretty big because, like, you know, there are abilities out there that give you attacks or give you extra defense. If you can't use those, then that could swing that combat significantly. So it'd be interesting to see what abilities are available and how impactful the raw could be, because I think that could be quite a key one. You've got the Trusty Stomp, which if you're not fighting a monster, you do D3 mortals on a 2+. You've got the Titanic Duel, which is pick an enemy monster within 3, add 1 to hit rolls made for attacks by this model that target that monster. So +1 to hit, and obviously they can. It says the end of the charge phase. It doesn't say when you charge. So each player can carry out 1. So you could Titanic Duel and they could Titanic Duel in the same combat, or you could do it somewhere else if you had multiple monsters fighting. It's going to be really interesting for Sons of Behemat because obviously they have lots of monsters. So that could be potentially really good. Obviously you can only use Titanic Duel once, and you can only use the Stomp once, and you can use the Raw once. But if you've got 3 monsters, that's all 3 different ones you can use. Then you've got Smash to Rubble, which is pick a faction terrain feature or defensible terrain feature with 3. Roll a dice on a 3+. It is demolished if it was defensible, and the senior rules on the war scroll cannot be used for rest of battle if it was a faction terrain feature. So that means you can destroy like a Bone-type Nexus, you can get rid of, you know, like a Feculent Nullmaw, and it will just mean that the rules don't do anything. So you can turn off faction terrain. Because at the end of the charge phase, it doesn't say you have to be charged, it doesn't say you have to be in combat. Because it's terrain, you could just run up and be within 3 of it and then just smash it down. So like when you're deploying your faction terrain, you'd have to be really careful where you put it. So like, are you going to put your Gloom-type shipwreck in their deployment zone to really disrupt them because they could just monstrously smash it to rubble? Yeah, it's on a 3+, but it's a fairly, like, it's a freebie, right? So you just roll the dice. So if you've got like multiple monsters, you're gonna have to be careful like where you actually use it. So can you do once per phase? So, but I think monster heavy armies would be quite good. I mean, like you see some of the lists where you can have like Beastclaw Raiders, you know, there's that adds a whole element in to their damage if you want the stomp or you want to do the roar and stuff like that. So I think as well, if you're a monstrous hero, you know, you're going to be able to go, I'm going to have +1 to wound, +1 save, and you can't use command abilities because I can do the Rampage and I can do the heroic Finest Hour heroic ability because I'm both a monster and a hero. So we saw obviously like they're talking about having like 3 or 4 command points, which is a lot more than you normally have, where you traditionally have 1, you know, in the first turn, gain 1 extra 1. If you've got a formation, you might have 2 or 3 like at the start of the game, and by the end of the game you're just getting 1 a turn, whereas obviously you're going to get more than that. There's some choice about whether they go first or second, whether they get a command point. You've got the heroic actions to gain extra points, but if you're doing that, you're not healing, you're not, you know, like doing your Finest Hour. So there's some, you're not doing that extra unbind, which could be quite useful if you've got an army that doesn't have wizards. So yeah, I think that's really good. It adds a whole nother level to using those models, but also that might affect their points, because we saw in Kragnos that Alariel, some of the people in the chat on the preview, on the premiere, were saying, oh, well, actually, like Alariel's expensive, and it's like, well, maybe there's a reason that, you know, points cooked in these abilities. I don't know if that's going to carry across. Obviously, we've heard about a new General's Handbook. Maybe there's going to be like a whole new, normally that comes with a whole new raft of new points, and it's a new edition, so I imagine there'll be some adjustment. So it'll be interesting to see how that lies. And, you know, like, obviously, like, Kragnos himself is pretty monstrous, and he's a hero, so if he gets access to these things, he could be absolutely, I mean, he could get to a 1+ save with Finest Hour, like, once per game. It's pretty strong. He can also heal, which is another thing, like, because he could just do the heroic recovery. So yeah, I mean, lots of cool stuff here, but I would say, like, that's quite an interesting update with some real meaty rules in there. And I would, you know, it's quite interesting. I think they're going to be doing a video a day, or like an article a day, I should say. So I'll try and cover that as they come out. But if it's not like massively impactful like yesterday, I'll wait and do it. I'll group a couple up. But if you want to see those updates as they occur, you could obviously just read the Warhammer community, follow those guys, you follow them on Twitter, look at the hashtag. You can follow us if you really want to, or you can subscribe to our channel, and I'll do these videos and periodically update with the latest news and announcements, and I'll try and add a little bit more deduction on it rather than just reading the rules. So hopefully you guys find this useful. If you like this video, let me know, and just put in the comments stuff you're excited about. If these rules look cool, if you're happy with the numbering system, how you feel about it. Hopefully it'll make the rules more accessible and make the game, I mean, it's a pretty accessible game anyway, comparing, I mean, I'm a bit long in the tooth because I remember games that were on 80-90 pages, so with diagrams and FAQ documents and binders, so it's a pretty accessible game anyway. But obviously, like, I think that the numbering of rules is something I've been wanting for years, and it's finally here. So really excited to see how that's going to speed up particularly competitive play and discussions around rules when you're in the bar talking about something and you're trying to like remember the rule, and you're like, oh, it's this number and this number. And I'm sure there'll be someone out there that could just start rattling off all the numbers. It'll be quite fun to see those sort of discussions. It'll be like the old the Red Dwarf Risk Journal, for those who know what I'm talking about, or Space Core Directives was the joke going around on Twitter, which really did make me laugh because I'm a big Red Dwarf fan. So it was, yeah, really cool. So I think that's Age of Sigmar Directive 6.1. So it'd be quite funny to see how it translates. I know some people are probably going, oh my god, I never want to go near a tournament if it's like that. It's not like that. I'm joking, it's a joke. So yeah, come and play and have fun. So hopefully this video was interesting, it was useful. Obviously you can read the articles for yourself. I know that the information is there for you to just look at, but hopefully this added a little bit more depth to that, and you found it useful. So thanks very much for watching. I'll catch you all again soon.